Is this some kind of joke? I asked, my voice breaking as the video played behind me. The laughter and gasps from the audience were deafening, each one like a dagger to my chest. My face burned, and my hands gripped the edges of the podium so tightly that I thought it might crack. My name is Victoria Reed. I'm 38 years old, and I'm the CEO of Reed Tech, a tech company I built from scratch over the last decade. This stage, this moment, was supposed to be my triumph, the highlight of our company's annual innovation summit in front of our employees, clients, and some of the most influential people in the industry. Instead, I was standing there, exposed and humiliated, as a manipulated video played out lies for everyone to see. Not long before, the room had buzzed with anticipation as I stepped onto the stage, the bright lights blinding me momentarily. This wasn't just another keynote speech. It was the moment. Reed Tech's annual Innovation Summit, broadcast live to thousands worldwide. The audience was a mix of employees, clients, and industry leaders, all gathered to hear about our latest breakthroughs. Months of preparation had led to this day, and I was ready. Or at least I thought I was. Just as I clicked to advance my first slide, the screen behind me flickered. I paused, turning slightly, assuming it was a technical glitch. But instead of my carefully crafted presentation, a video began to play. My heart dropped. It was a deepfake, my face, my voice, saying things I never said. The version of me on the screen was cruel, mocking employees, sneering at charitable projects, and making offensive comments about clients. Gasps echoed through the room, quickly followed by uneasy laughter, the kind that made my skin crawl. I turned back to the audience, my pulse hammering in my ears. My voice caught in my throat, but I forced myself to speak. "Well," I said, gripping the edges of the podium, "that's certainly one way to get everyone's attention." My attempt at humor fell flat, the laughter in the room shifting from nervous to derisive. The murmurs swelled. I could see people in the crowd glancing at one another, their expressions shifting from shock to skepticism. "Let me be clear," I continued, my voice faltering but firm. "What you just saw is not real. It's a fabrication. And while I don't know who's behind it yet, I can promise you—" "Is it, though?" someone called out from the back. Their voice cut through the room like a blade. More laughter followed, sharper this time. The murmurs grew louder. Phones were out, recording the spectacle as my world unraveled in real time. As I stepped off the stage, the event organizers announced a sudden 30-minute break before the next speaker. The crowd buzzed with murmurs and speculation, the whispers growing louder as I walked past. I could feel the stares burning into my back, some curious, some judgmental, and others downright gleeful. My face burned with humiliation, but I kept my head high, refusing to let anyone see me falter. Once backstage, I collapsed into a chair, my legs trembling. The green room was quieter, but not by much. A few staff members hovered nearby, pretending to work while stealing glances in my direction. My phone, resting on the table in front of me, was lighting up with notifications faster than I could process. The headlines were already appearing. "Scandal at Reed Tech Summit. CEO Victoria Reed embroiled in controversy." The 30 minutes stretched on like an eternity. People milled about in the main hall, their voices carrying through the thin walls of the green room. I heard fragments of conversations, my name, the words video, fake, and career ending cutting through the din. Every word felt like a jab, a reminder of how quickly a reputation could unravel. When Megan, my executive assistant, rushed in, her face was pale. "Victoria," she began cautiously, "the press is asking for a statement. They're waiting outside and it's not looking good." Her voice cracked on the last word, and for the first time, I saw the worry in her eyes. Worry for me, for the company, for everything we'd built. I stared at her, the words failing to form in my head. The break was ticking down, the next speaker preparing to take the stage. But all I could think about was how to fix this, or if I even could. The next few days were brutal. Every headline seemed to scream my name, and every conversation within the industry had me as its centerpiece. Investigations quickly revealed the truth. The images and videos were fake. Experts confirmed they had been generated with cutting-edge deepfake technology, designed to look disturbingly real. Even with the truth on my side, the damage was done. My reputation now carried a stain, one that wouldn't wash away easily. Doubts lingered in the minds of those who had seen the video, especially those who didn't follow the updates or didn't care to dig deeper. Fake or not, where there's smoke, there's fire, I overheard one executive say at a networking event later that week. The comment made my stomach turn. Inside Reed Tech, the whispers were louder than ever. My employees were supportive on the surface, but I could see the unease in their faces. Some wondered if the sabotage pointed to a deeper issue in the company's leadership. Investors were asking harder questions. Clients were stalling on contracts, and my inbox overflowed with concerned messages that barely masked their doubt in my ability to lead. As the days went on, I found myself replaying the event over and over in my mind. Who would do something like this? Who hated me enough to humiliate me on such a public stage? Two names lingered at the forefront of my thoughts, no matter how much I tried to push them aside. First, there was Nathan Cross, the CEO of CrossTech and my fiercest competitor. Nathan had never hidden his disdain for me, often making snide remarks at industry events about how lucky I was to lead Reed Tech. Our companies had butted heads over clients before, and I wouldn't put it past him to pull a stunt like this to tarnish my reputation and poach my business. Then there was Diana Lewis, my former business partner and co-founder. We'd started Reed Tech together, but our relationship had soured years ago after a bitter disagreement about the company's direction. Diana left, taking a settlement and a bruised ego. She hadn't spoken to me since, but I'd heard whispers about her trying to build her own company. Was this her way of getting revenge? Neither option felt right. Nathan was too brash to hide behind something like this. If he wanted to take me down, he'd do it openly. Diana, on the other hand, had always been calculated, but was she still nursing a grudge after all this time? I spent hours combing through every detail, trying to connect the dots. Nathan had the motive. Hurting me would weaken Reed Tech's standing in the industry, giving his company an edge. But the more I thought about it, the less it made sense. His style was loud and bold, not calculated. A smear campaign like this? Too subtle for Nathan. He'd rather gloat openly than pull strings from the shadows. Diana, though, Diana was different. She'd always been deliberate, measured, and painfully strategic. Our fallout had been ugly, filled with accusations and resentment. I had moved on, or at least I thought I had, but maybe she hadn't. The timing made sense. Reed Tech's success was growing, casting an even bigger shadow over whatever Diana was trying to build. Was this her way of evening the score? The thought consumed me as I paced the floor of my apartment that night. It had to be one of them, Nathan or Diana. But which one? My instincts warred with the evidence, or lack thereof. I clenched my fists, trying to push the doubt aside. Whoever it was, I wasn't going to let them win. The next morning, I walked into my office, still replaying every detail in my mind. Megan, my assistant, was already there, sorting through a stack of folders on my desk. She looked up as I walked in and immediately noticed the tension in my face. "Rough night?" she asked, offering a sympathetic smile. "You could say that," I replied, sinking into my chair. "I need your thoughts on something, Megan. This situation with the deepfake, it's eating me alive. I've narrowed it down to 2 people who could have done this." Megan pulled up a chair, her brow furrowing. "You've got my full attention. Who do you think it is?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the desk. Nathan Cross or Diana Lewis. Nathan has always hated me, and Reed Tech is his biggest competition. Taking me down would give him a huge advantage. But this kind of thing doesn't feel like him. He's more of a rub-it-in-your-face kind of guy. Megan nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, Nathan's not exactly subtle. If it were him, he'd probably be gloating about it by now." "Exactly," I said. "Then there's Diana. We haven't spoken in years, but our fallout was messy. She walked away with a settlement and a grudge. She's smart, calculated. This feels like something she'd do." Megan tilted her head, considering my words. She definitely has the brains for it. And if she's still holding on to that grudge, yeah, I could see her doing something like this. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. The thing is, I don't have solid evidence against either of them. It's all just instinct. Okay, Megan said, leaning forward. Let's think this through. If it's Nathan, what's his play? How does he gain from this? He'd undermine my reputation, make me look unfit to lead Reed Tech, I replied. It would make clients and investors question the company's stability. That could open the door for him to poach our business. True, Megan said. And Diana? I hesitated. Revenge. Pure and simple. This could be personal for her. She doesn't need a business gain, just the satisfaction of watching me fall. Megan leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. Both are possible, but I'm leaning toward Diana. She has more reason to make it personal. Nathan's more likely to go for the jugular in a way that's traceable. It's too subtle for him. After my conversation with Megan, I realized there was only one way to move forward. I had to confront them, or at least test their reactions. Subtlety would be key. If either Nathan or Diana were responsible, they'd slip up eventually. I picked up my phone and stared at the two names on my contact list, my thumb hovering over the screen. Nathan first. He was impulsive and brash, easier to rattle. I tapped his number, my heart pounding as the phone rang. Victoria. He answered after a few rings, his voice sharp and impatient. How are you today? Cut the formalities, Nathan, I said, injecting a casual tone into my voice. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. Of course, he said, a smug undertone creeping into his words. It's been the talk of the industry. Gotta admit, that video? Brutal. Almost too good to be true. I paused, letting the silence linger for a moment. It's fake. You know that, right? Fake or not, perception is reality, isn't it? He replied, a low chuckle following his words. But hey, if you need a shoulder to cry on, I've got a few minutes. I gritted my teeth. I'll be fine, Nathan. Just wanted to check if you'd heard anything unusual. You're well connected, after all. His laughter stopped abruptly. Why would I know anything about it? You think I'm behind this? I matched his sharp tone. Just covering all my bases. Well, don't look at me, he snapped. Unlike some people, I don't need cheap tricks to win. Good luck cleaning up your mess, Victoria. He hung up before I could reply. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. Nathan's reaction felt predictable, defensive, arrogant, but nothing concrete. Next was Diana. Her number felt heavier as I tapped it, memories of our fallout flashing through my mind. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Well, this is a surprise, she said coolly. Victoria Reed. To what do I owe the pleasure? Diana, I said, keeping my voice neutral. I'm sure you've seen what's been going around. The video. Hard to miss, she replied. It's all over the news. Nasty stuff, but not surprising. You've made a lot of enemies over the years. I ignored the jab. Enemies like you? She laughed, the sound sharp and cutting. Oh, please. If I wanted to take you down, I wouldn't need smoke and mirrors to do it. I'd do it to your face. Her words stung, but there was an honesty in them I couldn't ignore. So, you're saying you had nothing to do with it? I'm saying I've got better things to do than worry about you, she said bluntly. But if you're looking for a suspect, maybe start with someone closer to home. People like you don't get taken down by strangers. The line went dead before I could respond. Her words echoed in my mind, planting a seed of doubt I couldn't shake. I set the phone down, my mind swirling with possibilities. Diana's parting words echoed louder than anything else. Someone closer to home. It sounded like a throwaway comment, but it stuck with me, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. Could she be right? Could it be someone from within my own circle? The idea made my stomach churn. I replayed both conversations in my mind, Nathan's arrogance had been expected, but his defensiveness seemed genuine. He was insulted that I even considered him a suspect. Diana, on the other hand, was cold and cutting, but not evasive. If she had done this, why not take the opportunity to gloat? Both of them left me with no solid answers, just more questions. Megan walked into my office with a stack of reports, her face unreadable. "How did it go?" she asked, setting the papers on my desk. I sighed. "About as well as you'd expect. Nathan was defensive, Diana was condescending, and neither of them gave me anything useful." Megan sat down across from me, folding her hands in her lap. "Maybe Diana's right. Maybe it's not them. Maybe it's someone closer." I frowned, her words hitting too close to Diana's for comfort. "You think someone at Reed Tech would do this?" She shrugged. "It's not impossible. You've made tough decisions, Victoria. Not everyone's happy about them." The thought unsettled me, but I couldn't dismiss it. If that's true, then whoever it is knows this company inside and out. They had access to private footage, internal systems. "Exactly," Megan said. "Maybe it's time to widen the search." I nodded, the weight of her suggestion pressing down on me. If this betrayal really did come from inside Reed Tech, it meant one thing. I had been blind to it all along. And whoever did this wasn't just trying to tarnish my name. They were trying to destroy everything I'd built. The next few weeks became a blur of quiet investigation and growing paranoia. I asked IT to comb through our systems for any signs of unauthorized access, but so far, they hadn't found anything conclusive. Every time I walked into a meeting or passed someone in the hall, I wondered, was it you? Megan and I worked late into the nights dissecting every clue we had. She was relentless, her attention to detail impressing me even in the midst of chaos. She'd pull files, cross-reference timelines, and double-check every piece of data. If there was a thread to pull, she was determined to find it. One evening, as we sat in my office under the dim glow of my desk lamp, Megan leaned back in her chair and sighed. "What if this isn't about money or competition?" she asked. "What if it's personal?" I looked up from my laptop. "Personal? How?" "Think about it," she said. "This wasn't just an attack on Reed Tech. It was targeted at you. The way that video was edited, the things it showed, it was meant to humiliate you, not just discredit the company." Her words sent a chill through me. I had been so focused on the professional implications that I hadn't considered the personal angle. But Megan was right. Whoever did this wanted to hurt me on a deeper level. The question was, why? The next morning, as I sipped my coffee and tried to brace myself for another day of uncertainty, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from Tom, the head of IT. Subject: Update on deepfake investigation, Victoria. We found a possible lead. Can you come down to the IT department to discuss? Tom. I didn't waste a second. Within minutes, I was in Tom's office, where his desk was covered in screens displaying server logs, timestamps, and what looked like access trails. He gestured for me to sit, his expression a mix of determination and unease. "We've been working nonstop," he began. "Last night, we found something unusual. During the time the video was uploaded, there was remote access to the presentation server." "Remote access?" I asked, leaning forward. "From outside the company?" Tom shook his head. "No, from within. The access came through a VPN, masking the original user's identity. But we managed to narrow it down to one department: communications." I frowned. "Communications? Why there?" "It makes sense," Tom said. "That department handles external presentations, media files, and anything related to public-facing content. The person responsible likely had access to the presentation software and the event materials." I nodded, processing the information. It was a solid lead, but it didn't point to a specific person yet. "So, what's next?" Tom tapped on his keyboard, pulling up another screen. "We're running a deeper scan to pinpoint which workstation initiated the VPN access. Once we have that, we'll be able to identify the account used." Good, I said, my voice firm. Keep me updated. And Tom? This stays between us. He nodded. Understood. As I left his office, the weight of this new lead settled on my shoulders. Someone in communications. Someone who worked closely with event materials. The circle was tightening, but the question remained. Who? Later that day, Tom called me back to his office. The room was dim, the glow of his monitors casting shadows on the walls. His face was set in a determined frown as he motioned me toward his desk. We've narrowed it down, he began, tapping a screen that displayed server logs and access trails. The VPN access during the conference originated from a workstation assigned to Anna Carver, one of the junior associates in the communications department. Anna? I repeated, trying to recall her face. She was relatively new, quiet, diligent, and hardly someone I'd associate with something this malicious. What else do we know? Well, here's where it gets strange, Tom said, pulling up a new set of data. Her credentials were used to log into the system during the exact time frame of the deepfake upload, right as your presentation began. But this wasn't from her office, it was from a workstation set up for the event backstage. I frowned. You mean someone was physically in the building during the summit? He nodded. Exactly. And it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. He clicked to open a video file. We synced the login time with the building's security footage. This is the backstage area during your presentation. On the screen, I saw a figure dressed in a black blazer and slacks swipe an ID card at one of the event workstations. The timestamp matched perfectly with the moment the video interrupted my keynote. The footage was grainy, and the person's face was turned away from the camera, but it was clear this wasn't Anna. The build, the posture, it didn't match her at all. It matched someone else. And I knew exactly who. It was Megan. The air felt heavy around me as I tried to process what I was seeing. Megan, the person who had stood by my side through everything, had betrayed me in the most personal, calculated way possible. I couldn't bring myself to say anything as I walked back to my office. The images of Megan from the security footage looped in my mind, each replay cutting deeper. How had I missed this? How had I let someone so close slip through my defenses? By the time I reached my desk, my emotions had shifted from shock to anger. Megan was seated at her usual spot outside my office, typing away on her computer as if nothing had happened. She looked up and smiled, a practiced, familiar gesture that now felt hollow. Hey, Victoria, she said cheerfully. Tom mentioned you were in IT earlier. Any updates on the investigation? Her calmness made my stomach churn. Nothing yet, I said evenly, forcing a tight smile. But we're getting close. Her face didn't betray a single flicker of concern. If anything, she looked intrigued. That's good to hear. Whoever did this is going to pay, right? I nodded slowly, the weight of her betrayal settling deeper into my chest. Oh, they will, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. I'll make sure of it. That night, as I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the weight of Megan's betrayal pressed down on me. I stared out the window at the city lights, my mind running in endless loops. She had worked beside me for years, earning my trust and positioning herself as my confidant. And now I knew the truth. I needed to expose her, but how? The evidence was undeniable, yet the way I handled this would define not just her fate, but mine as well. A direct confrontation could work, but it would give her the chance to spin the story. Public exposure would send a clear message, but it might make me look vindictive in front of the company. A carefully staged trap could catch her off guard, but it required precision. Every option carried its risks, its rewards. I leaned back, closing my eyes. She thinks she's untouchable, I thought, that I won't see this through. But she's wrong. The next morning, I finalized my plan. It wasn't subtle, but it would be effective. The entire company needed to see the truth, not just for my sake, but to reinforce that no one, not even someone close to me, could get away with undermining ReadTech. I called Megan into my office. "We're holding a company-wide town hall this afternoon," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "It's about the deepfake investigation. I want you there by my side. You've been my closest ally through all this, and it's only right that you're part of the resolution." Megan's face didn't flinch. If anything, she seemed pleased, even smug. "Of course, Victoria. I'll be there." The hours leading up to the event were a blur of preparation. Tom worked tirelessly to compile a polished presentation of the evidence, and I rehearsed my own opening remarks. By the time the town hall began, the auditorium was packed with employees, all eager to hear how we'd resolved the scandal that had gripped the company for weeks. Megan sat to my left, her posture relaxed, a faint smile on her lips. Tom sat to my right, his laptop open and ready. I stepped up to the podium, taking a deep breath before speaking. "Thank you all for being here," I began, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "As you know, ReadTech has been under fire recently due to a malicious deepfake video that disrupted our Innovation Summit. Today, we're here to share the results of our investigation." I gestured to Tom, who stood and began his presentation. He walked through the timeline, explaining the VPN access, the stolen credentials, and the security footage. The room was silent, employees hanging onto every word. Then came the moment of truth. Tom clicked to the final slide, a freeze frame of Megan at the backstage workstation, her face clear and unmistakable. A collective gasp rippled through the room. "The individual responsible for the sabotage is Megan Lawson," Tom said, his voice firm. "We have incontrovertible evidence linking her to the incident." All eyes turned to Megan. For the first time, her calm facade cracked. Her face flushed, her hands gripping the armrests of her chair. This is ridiculous," she stammered, her voice shaking. "You've got it wrong!" I stepped forward, my gaze locked on hers. "Megan," I said, my tone sharp but controlled, "the evidence doesn't lie. You had the access. You made the upload. And you betrayed this company. And me." Megan shot up from her seat, her face a mixture of anger and desperation. "You don't understand," she said, her voice rising. "This has to be some kind of mistake." Tom remained calm, scrolling back through the footage. "There's no mistake," he said. "The badge was stolen, yes, but you were the one who used it. The fingerprints on the keypad? They're yours, Megan. You've been caught." The employees in the room murmured, the tension rising with every second. Megan turned to me, her voice trembling. "Victoria, you can't really believe I'd do this to you. We've worked together for years. I've always been loyal." I stepped forward, my expression hard as steel. "Loyalty isn't sabotaging my career, Megan. Loyalty isn't putting the entire company at risk for your own gain. Do you have anything to say for yourself? The truth this time." She faltered, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. I was pushed into it," she blurted, her voice cracking. "I didn't want to, but..." "But what?" I pressed, my voice sharp. "Who pushed you? Why did you do it?" Her shoulders sagged as the fight drained out of her. She slumped back into her chair, her voice barely above a whisper. "It wasn't about the company," she admitted. "It was about you. You've always had everything: respect, success, recognition, and I'm just the assistant, always in your shadow." The room fell silent as her words hung in the air. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and bitterness. "I thought, if I could make people doubt you, maybe I'd finally matter. Maybe people would notice me." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. Her confession cut deeper than I expected, not just because of the betrayal, but because of the raw envy and resentment she carried. "Megan," I said, my voice softer now but still firm, "you could have talked to me. You didn't need to tear me down to make yourself feel seen, but what you did, this isn't just personal, this is criminal." She buried her face in her hands, and I turned back to the employees seated in the room. Reed Tech is built on trust, I said, my voice steady. And when that trust is broken, there are consequences. I didn't press charges, just fired her. As much as I wanted justice, I wanted closure even more. Dragging this out in court wouldn't give me the peace I needed. Megan's confession was enough. She had destroyed herself with her own ambition, and there was no coming back from it. The next few days were surreal. Megan's betrayal became the talk of every newsroom and industry podcast. Headlines like, Reed Tech Scandal, Assistant Sabotages CEO with Deepfake, and Betrayal at the Top, How Envy Almost Toppled Victoria Reed dominated the media cycle. Her name and face were everywhere, her actions dissected and condemned by commentators and industry insiders alike. Employees at Reed Tech rallied around me, offering their support and relief that the mystery had been solved. Investors, initially cautious, began to reaffirm their trust in the company. But as the world buzzed about Megan, I focused on rebuilding what mattered most: my reputation, my company, and the trust of those who had always believed in me. I made a point to call both Nathan and Diana. I owed them an apology for my suspicions, and to my surprise, they both accepted it with grace. It was a small step toward clearing the air, but it mattered. As for Megan, she got what she wanted. She was noticed. But not in the way she'd hoped. Instead of admiration, she earned infamy, her name tied to a betrayal that cost her everything. I couldn't dwell on it any longer. I had a company to lead and a future to build, leaving the shadows of her actions far behind me. Hey there! Did you like the story? If you did, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot and makes sure you won't miss out on more great stories we share here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.